Chad Moyer with you here on the Rural Radio Network, and it's time for another Fridays in the Field segment brought to you by FNBO, the Great Big Small Bank. We're back in North Bend, Nebraska, and we're visiting with Nick Emanual about the harvest season so far. Nick, thanks for joining us again here today. First of all, let's summarize the soybean harvest. I understand it went pretty quick in this area, huh?
Yes, hot and heavy and very quick. We finished up on October 1st, which was the earliest we've ever been done with soybeans. Got started earlier than we've ever done, and obviously got finished up. No breaks. We've only had one rain day so far, so otherwise it's been going every single day since the beginning of harvest. And soybean yields were the most variable we've ever had. Highest range from top to bottom. Water really played a key factor this year, and the drought was obviously more extreme than we even expected on the soybeans. But mostly just the dryland yields were affected the most from what we saw on soybean yields. Overall farm average was really just very average and modest. Irrigated yields still pulled through fairly well, but we're still affected by that, extreme heat and dry weather we had.
So that average that you had on soybeans that you did achieve, how did that compare to expectations that you had through the growing season?
I think everybody's expectations, as we talked about earlier in other interviews, were really much a roller coaster season. So they started off really, really high and optimistic in the beginning, and then the drier it got and the continued lack of rain, we started to decrease, so the optimistic yield projections. So I think overall it ended probably right where we expected.
Okay, could you give us the range? What was the top, what was the bottom on your field average?
For us it ranged anywhere from going through the field 40 to 90, which again, that was more variable than even the droughts in 2012 and 13.
Very interesting. So now I would imagine that we're well underway with the corn harvest then, huh?
Yes, like I said, only had one day of break so far, so corn harvest has progressed very well. We've just got about a few days left of corn harvest, so again, going to be done in record time for us. And corn is performing better than beans overall. The dryland yields were tough, but right where we expected. They weren't terrible, but they were obviously lower. And what's really pulled us through is irrigated corn yields have been exceptional. Some of our best yields ever in irrigated corn and performing very well on that end.
Yeah, and I know you haven't had time to put final numbers, but just as you're watching the monitor and again in the combine, what seems to be the ranges on the yield and the moisture for the corn coming off?
Yeah, so for us, dryland yields were anywhere from 170 to 200 bushel. And irrigated is ranging anywhere from 240 to 280 field averages, so way up there and performing very well, like I said.
Okay, so what are kind of the keys that you've been able to take away from 2020 so far in the success, or the what did we learn from this year that you're going to take into years ahead?
I think a common thing is, in years where there's exceptional stress, like what this heat and lack of moisture has shown, is management is escalated. So better management has really shined through, and where the management maybe wasn't where we needed it to be, it kind of exponentially decreased yield. So management's played a key factor. As we talked about, water was key. We talked a little bit about irrigation scheduling and timing before, and not only the frequency and the amount of overall irrigation applied, but timing really seemed to be very important on both corn and soybeans, especially that last irrigation really proved out to be helpful to get that final top-end yield.
All right, Nick, sounds great. Just as we wrap up, final thought, are you looking ahead to 2021? Are you thinking about making any management decisions or management changes as you look at the next crop year?
You're always trying to improve and make changes year after year. For us, the big thing right now is getting prepared for fall fertilizer and really tweaking our recommendations and analyzing where we can continue to balance out our soil nutrition and improve on those aspects.
All right, very good. Well, with the speed of harvest, you're going to have plenty of time to do that then, right?
It looks like it. Could even use a little bit of moisture to help the ground work up a little better, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. It's good to talk to you. Thanks for letting us follow you through the growing season this year. this year, okay?
All right, thanks, Chad.
Again, we've been visiting with Nick Emanual from North Bend, Nebraska. He has been our Fridays in the Field segment from the northeast part of the state here this season, and that'll be our wrap-up program for this season from this part of the state. Of course, Fridays in the Field brought to you by FNBO, the Great Big Small Bank. I'm Chad Moyer on the Rural Radio Network.